that hot mess that they air in the mornings called The View had to issue not one, not two, not three, but 4 corrections, legal corrections. Not to mention what they did at that debate, where once again, they tried to fact check only one side. And then when their fact checks got fact checked, they cowered. They cowered in fear. I mean, this is a pattern with them.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
Whoopi Goldberg hit total meltdown mode live on air. And no, it wasn't Joy Behar's latest wardrobe malfunction that lit the fuse. This time, it was something way more brutal. The chaos erupted after Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly joined forces for a takedown so savage even Simon Cowell might have cringed. One moment, Whoopi was lounging in smug comfort. The next, she looked like someone flipped a table and yelled for security.
Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow.
Whatever was said clearly cut deep, like way down past the sass. It didn't just shake her feathers. It short-circuited her entire attitude processor. Imagine the nuclear fallout of your ex getting caught cheating and the group chat blowing up that level of fire. As for Whoopi's breakdown, no one was prepped. The queen of clapbacks, the oracle of I know better, looked like she just read Yelp reviews of her own personality. That famous eye roll gone. In its place, wide-eyed dread. The kind you get when you realize the cameras never stopped rolling. This wasn't a bad take, it was soap opera mayhem without the soundtrack. And the culprits, none other than the unlikely chaos duo, Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly. They didn't throw shade, they blacked out the entire set. And no, this wasn't spontaneous. This explosion had been building for a while. Time to hit rewind and unpack how it all blew up.
They're disgusting. She's Anna Navarro. In your wildest imagination, you could never solo host a show. You will only ever make it as part of an ensemble, and you could never hope to achieve the success that Tucker Carlson has. So you can sit in your little cheap seats all day long and enjoy your little negative henpecking, but your careers are going nowhere, and Tucker is about to dominate in whatever space he goes.
Perched on her squeaky leather throne like a chaotic monarch, Whoopi's been free-falling into word salad territory that even the teleprompter can't salvage. Picture someone trying to juggle flaming knives while improvising a geopolitical TED talk before their espresso kicks, and that's the energy Whoopi's bringing lately. Every time she speaks, it's like spinning a roulette wheel of unpredictability. Will it be a conspiracy theory, a cringe metaphor, or a hot take so off the wall that his producers scrambling for a commercial break like it's a fire drill? The You has morphed from a talk show into a wild reality series set in a forgotten 2016 group chat. It's like a college debate team was dropped into a Facebook feud and told to go live. What used to be thoughtful discussion is now a chaotic scream fest, where logic gets dirty looks and nuance is treated like a virus.
They felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last week.
And Whoopi, she's not just on the panel, she is the panel. One moment she's the coach, the next she's narrating like a sportscaster, and then she's tossing flags like a one-woman referee penalizing herself. She delivers her takes with the boldness of someone who read a headline and made it into a full-on TED Talk peppered with enough fake confidence to sound official, even when it's completely off. But this isn't random noise, it's finely crafted confusion. Broadcast 5 days a week like clockwork. Naturally, that level of chaos finally drew the gaze of America's outrage industry. Enter Charlie Kirk, marching out of the digital. Mist like a meme-fueled Avenger, summoned by side-eyes and viral fail clips. The man's allergic to Hollywood-style elitism, and Whoopi's recent segments were dripping in it. With the precision of a sniper and the energy of someone with a grudge. Kirk zeroed in and it wasn't pretty.
I'm back. In Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So
Kirk didn't just answer back, he put on a whole show. No casual tweet, no offhand jab. This was a tactical takedown, complete with visuals, receipts, and precision strikes. Like a news ninja in attack mode, he shredded Whoopi's monologue, so hard it probably startled the teleprompter. By the time he was done, even the studio lights were probably wondering if they still wanted to be part of the production. In Kirk's eyes, this wasn't a celeb getting too comfortable, it was a high-def lesson in why entertainers shouldn't pretend to be foreign policy pros. And he didn't stop with Whoopi. He pulled the entire View crew into the spotlight, painting them not as slightly off track but as completely unmoored. Think red carpets floating through space, sipping lattes in orbit, broadcasting opinions to Earth like they still had Wi-Fi.
There was what do you call it, this Turning Point conference with all the smoke? What are they, smoking something down there? Or it's like, whatever. Anyway, they were out there, were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Whoa, the drama. Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, threatened to sue The View. And let me tell you, the nonsense that ensued is really something.
To Kirk, the show stopped speaking for real people long ago. Now it's a glammed-up echo chamber, dressed in designer scarves and spouting the same tired elitist soundbites. Daytime TV turned into a luxury soapbox with no grip on reality. Once Kirk made that point, he didn't slow down. He flooded the internet with clips, rants, tweets, and podcast firestorms. Whoopi didn't just trend, she detonated, served crispy, cold, and algorithmically approved. And just when it couldn't get more chaotic, boom, enter Megyn Kelly. Not a cheerleader, not a backup dancer. Picture courtroom heels and the poise of someone who reads the contract before setting it on fire. Where Kirk used a hammer, Megyn brought a scalpel. She didn't rant, she dissected. Unraveled Whoopi's speech piece by piece, filed it under delusional, and hit the lights for everyone to see the mess. With the glam stripped away and the drama turned up, Whoopi went noticeably silent. Megyn handled it like a crime scene vet closing in on the final suspect.
Asked him about that. They asked him about that moment. Watch this, SOT 36.
When the vice president was here, I asked her if she would have done something differently than your administration over the past 4 years. And because of all the successes that your administration had, I think her response was, there is not a thing that comes to mind. Now, that answer was weaponized against her. And there has been some reporting that you encouraged.
Cool, composed, and quietly ruthless Megyn Kelly didn't just spotlight one stumble. She mapped out a trend. This wasn't a single bad take, it was a career-long blooper reel dressed up as cultural commentary. Whoopi, once a revered icon, had become a recurring meme not for greatness, but for gaffes. No yelling, no finger-pointing, just a steely, surgical takedown that made every past scream cry moment on The View look like amateur hour. Megyn brought the scalpel and Charlie brought the dynamite. While Kirk lobbed ideological fireballs, Megyn stayed frosty. Armed with timestamps and cold, hard clips, she laid out Whoopi's public misfires like a detective building a case board each pin. Another reminder that this wasn't a blip, but a broadcast-level freefall. The message was brutal in its calm. Whoopi wasn't out of step, she hadn't bothered learning the dancing years. Maybe she thought legacy was enough to carry her. But in today's media landscape, coasting is a crash in slow motion. By the time Megyn rapped, the only thing left standing was the echo of heels on the studio floor and the sound of Whoopi's brand quietly imploding. No scandal, just a perfectly executed media demolition. A daytime icon reduced to clickbait carnage. And yes, even cable news rubberneck.
Do you think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this?
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. Because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear there's one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas. And I think that's rather
The internet, naturally, reacted with all the subtlety of a toddler with a sugar four. Twitter turned into a fireworks display. TikTok went full Michael Bay. And meme lords clocked in early like it was overtime at the Oscars. Viral clips weren't. Shared, they detonated. Suddenly, slow-mo edits of Whoopi looking stunned were set to cinematic piano scores, dramatic zoom-ins, and voiceovers worthy of a disaster movie trailer. But to really grasp why it hit so hard, you've got to understand The View isn't just TV, it's a weekly Thunderdome, equal parts soap opera and unlicensed therapy session. With nuance duct taped in a closet, opinions aren't exchanged, they're launched, dodgeball style, across a table of escalating chaos. At the center of it all, Whoopi, more preacher than panelist, more oracle than moderator. She spent years sermonizing through squints, side eyes, and monologues, treating every opinion like gospel and every disagreement like blasphemy. She didn't host a show, she held court.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they.
But even a queen of clapbacks can fall off her throne after dominating the roundtable for years. Whoopi's once commanding presence has started to echo less truth-teller, more caricature. The fire and brimstone delivery, now it just sounds like someone rehearsing for a parody sketch. So, when the backlash came, it didn't knock it, blew the doors off. This wasn't about one bad segment, it was about years of soapbox sermons and finger-wagging monologues that aged like a soggy script. Charlie and Megyn didn't go for a viral hit. They dragged the entire vault. From sanctimonious tangents to ego-drenched lectures, they aired it all. The result? A personality audit in real time. One day she was the straight-shooting conscience of daytime TV. The next, she was the loud relative at Thanksgiving who talks over everyone and calls it wisdom. It wasn't just a fall, it was a repositioning. The public didn't just question her. They started tuning her up.
I don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week. And we have a lot to sift through. And if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
And The View. It's now the visual equivalent of a group project where no one read the assignment. Everyone thinks they're the smartest person in the room, but facts are treated like garnish cute. Unnecessary, mostly ignored. The panel has devolved into a shouting match in a content blender. So, when Megyn and Charlie came armed with facts and a shared mission to deflate the diva mythos, the takedown felt less like a roast and more like a long overdue reckoning. Whoopi didn't fight back. No monologue. No comeback. Just stunned silence. The kind that settles in when someone realizes volume isn't a substitute for value. Her signature sass? Vanished. The side eyes? Missing. Even her most loyal fans squirmed. For the first time in years, Whoopi looked unsure, like someone Googling how to survive a digital dragging on a commercial break. Megyn didn't demonize her, she did something colder. She made her look dated. And in media, irrelevance doesn't trend, it kills.
Whoopi Goldberg was angry when Alyssa pointed out that Trump went to the funeral of Officer Diller.
Yes.
On Long Island, and Joe Biden went to a podcast. Look at Whoopi Goldberg's reaction.
Choose what you like there, but for Republicans, it was good imagery.
Really?
One day later, yes.
And I'm asking that because I was so offended because you know who showed up.
Yeah.
And he was, whether he was asked or not. This is a man who didn't care what happened to the officers on January 6th.
She promotes Joe Biden and Kamala Harris every day on that show. Trump wasn't supportive enough of the cops who were, yes, in danger on J6th. How does that explain their behavior on a daily basis toward Harris, toward Biden, toward AOC, toward all of the left, including their own show, Sunny Hostin. The hypocrisy is rank.
What made it hit wasn't cruelty, it was clarity. Whoopi wasn't being torched for a single misstep. She was being held accountable for a long streak of lazy hot takes, coated in charm and served up as truth. Charlie's volume was high, sure, but he wasn't wrong. Megyn's tone was ice cold, but her aim? Impeccable. Together, they pulled off the impossible, a partisan agreement that Whoopi's crown had quietly slipped years ago. Not because she aged out, but because she checked out, the fire dulled, the outrage scripted, and the facts fuzzy at best. Meanwhile, the View spirals into an echo chamber nobody enjoys, but no one leaves. Whoopi still shows up. Same delivery, same tone, but the crowd's changed. The laughs don't land. The applause feels forced. That's the irony. America loves a comeback, but it loves a takedown more. And right now, Whoopi's balancing on. The edge half legacy, half meme, the real question, does she even notice? Because if this moment proved anything, it's that even icons get muted when they mistake noise for relevance. And the mic drop, it didn't come from Whoopi. It came from the internet and very unbothered outsiders who showed up with nothing to lose.